Praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Marukah Kadash, double of the apostles and elders of the great stone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect.
Shalom, shalom.
Alright, we're going to go into the book of Hebrews, the 11th chapter. I'll read and you can break down, I'll just jump in. As and when the Spirit hits me. So this is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Good. So I said what? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And that's, hey, with faith, that's something that the things that we're basically hoping and believing in is what? It's things that aren't manifest right now. And that's, that's where the faith comes in. It's basically a representation of that. And that's one of the dividing lines between between the men of the elect really and those that aren't, because it's like receiving that gift of faith. It's like I was actually gonna say fucking hell. Okay. Read it again. Just completely destroyed my train of thought.
Verse 3, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Yeah, so the world, they were framed by what? By the word of the Most High. Yahweh basically was the one who framed the worlds. And hey, that's, these are things that are mysteries. These are things that are not easily understood. And that's like, it's to believe in these things, what? It takes faith. Because most people out here are talking about, the 7 billion years old. They're talking about, humanity came around like 150 million years ago and shit. Which is just, that's in the flesh, trying to comprehend 150 million years. Your brain's going to turn into a fucking, into an ice cream sundae, man. Your brain's going to just turn into mashed potatoes. Because that's how beyond it is. But that's why that's the thing. It's like with the truth of the word, it's simple. Read this. Hebrews 1:1. The Most High, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Yeah. So Yahushua has been appointed what? Heir of all things. Because underneath Yahweh is then Yahushua. Has, been what? Given power over everything. And then what? It says by whom he also made the worlds. Because that's what Yahushua did, man. That word basically bringing into what's the word I'm looking for? Not even fruition. Well, making manifest the the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And that's, like I said, these things requires faith to get, and that's a big that's something that now modern time that's lacking. That's dried up, man. It's very much ceased to exist, and it's gonna be, that's why now we're in the midst of the sparks, the embers of World War III kind of popping off. And it's like, people are hoping that, people are trying to still continue, with their lives. But that leans into what? Like Matthew 24, as in the days of Noah, people are giving in marriage and basically partying and doing whatever they were doing up until the doors were shut. And that's going to go into Noah later in the chapter. But hey, that faith is when hey, there's more to come, then that basically is going to direct your behavior. We're going.
Yeah, I was gonna say a point of it said about the invisible making things visible, and I always say this, man. Mount Zion, man, where a visible representation of an invisible power, the unknown God, and faith is the key conduit that basically actually, brings that invisible power to the visible, man. The belief in the Heavenly Father, alright? And only it's really going to be manifest to its fullness in the times that we live in.
Huh.
So, read on. Hebrews 11:4. That by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death.
What we read?
Hebrews 11:4. Sorry, 4. By faith Abel.
Yeah, no, see, you said Enoch here.
Yeah, I know.
So
By faith Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous.
yeah, because that's basically what the main dividing line between Cain and Abel. Cain brought just a completely abominable sacrifice, and it was his own shortcomings as to why he did that. But then what? It's why, because he was he was of the wicked, man. Because Abel is what is proof. His sacrifice was proof that he was righteous. But then what's the same for Cain? For Cain, that he was wicked, because that's his whole job. That's his MO. That was his purpose. That's the job he was brought on the earth to do.
Yep. And that's why the Lord said, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do." Why did he say that? Because basically, he was talking to the wicked scribes and Pharisees, the wicked Jews, basically. But it's because they lacked faith, alright? So Cain shows you the polar opposite of Abel. Verse 5, by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, but was not found.
No, you started a bit before.
Salakia. By which obtained, okay, I'll read it again, verse 4. By faith Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, the Most High testifying of his gifts, and by it being dead yet speaketh.
Yeah, because after you got taken out, then it was what you cried onto the Lord, saying like, Cain's just that. Cain's being a criminal, man.
And the Lord heard his cry.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing going on now. You got the righteous, basically passing on. Even anyone, it's like them. Jake gets taken out on this side. They'll get up there. They'll be like, "Yo, how long until we're avenged, man?" Because realize when you get up into the heavens, get in your right mind and realize this is a fucking hellhole, man. How long a man just gonna have to be out there, just ailing, being destroyed? And that's how you know Esau, Cain. That's his daddy, man. That's his that's the same spirit. Look on.
I got a precept. This is the book of Luke 18:1, 2. I'll steamroll through it quickly. Saying there was in a city a judge which feared not the Most High, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of my adversary. And he would not for a while. But afterward he said within himself, Though I fear not the Most High, fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me.
Yeah, so it ain't even a matter of him having faith or any fear, but it was just because he was getting nagged. It was just like, yo, it's fucking sick and tired of this shit. But then what's gone? There's a bit more.
Yeah, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. And the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge saith. And shall not the Most High avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them?
Yeah. So even more so.
Little bit more.
Oh, you got going on.
I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on earth?
Yeah. So with it's like, you know, if even an unrighteous judge is going to be spurned to action, then how much more so Yahweh Shem Yahushai? And then what was the last bit? 'Cause my brain has just dropped it out.
It says in verse 8, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on earth?
Yeah,
I have to read this to back up, but it's a lot going.
Nah, it's gonna be faith. That's why it's not just gonna be. And that's why it's like this about the elect as well, because the difference with you know what happened in Egypt versus now is now it's just the elect. Now it's just the Israel, the Most High, and those are the ones that have faith that have basically endured through, you know, in the truth and the word time and again. And now is the time of the reward for that.
Quick one. 2 Ezra 5:1. Nevertheless, as come in the tokens, behold, the day shall come, that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. That's the time that we're in. We're basically in the time of, well, it happened only when Israel fell away, and there was no one in the faith. You had different people come up and kind of, you know, show certain sparks of the truth, you know, saying that we're the Israelites, but he didn't have no one fully fledged come till the time of who? Abba Bivens, alright? But the point being is that that way of faith was hidden, and now it's been brought to the street, basically. And that's why Yahweh Shai said, what, you know, will there be faith found upon the earth? Yeah, there'll be faith found on the earth. But at the same time, it's going to be so, the Lord's coming for a remnant, man. You know?
Small sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, I've got a quick. Okay, no, I can't find it. I think it's. Wait one moment. Sirach 17 and 10. To the point. And the elect shall praise his holy name. That's it.
Just the elect.
Alright, so this is the book of Hebrews 11, verse 5. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because the Most High had translated him. For before his translation he had his testimony that he pleased the Most High. Without sort of touch on Enoch. Enoch basically, it tells you by in the book of Jude how he elaborates on it and how he prophesied about the Lord coming with the thousands of the heavens, right? And he spoke of the Lord coming. And not too many generations after him, you know, he was prophesying, so all the people saw him. And what was he speaking? What was the testimony that he was prophesying of? The Lord coming with chariots, the thousands of heavens. And then as a token to a sign to the people, to sign of faith, basically, of goodwill, the Lord took Enoch up in a chariot and took him to the spiritual realm. Alright? So that basically and it's what is that known as when the Lord returns? It's known as the second death. And then immediately after that, what happened? Or not immediately, but within that time span of when he left, you had Noah start prophesying, alright, and basically building an ark and speaking of the first death. So it shows you you have to have faith to see those kind of things, alright. But he was speaking that testimony, right? Verse 6, but without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And that kind of goes into the point as well, because look, when Enoch came just he weren't just out there saying the Lord's coming with the thousands of the angels, get ready, he's gonna destroy you all. No, he's speaking of the repentance unto that's the testimony of Yahushua. He's speaking about the deliverance of Yahushua. Alright? And that's the reward of those that have faith in Yahushua, that they're gonna be delivered as Enoch was delivered. Alright, and then you had Noah come afterwards who spoke a testimony of Yahushua, alright, of the Lord, but pertaining to the time of the first death, and showed the ark, which was another form of destruction and salvation unto the Lord. Right? But this is all to deal with faith. So carry on. You got any points?
No, yeah.
Verse 7, by faith Noah, being warned of the Most High, of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house.
Yeah, move with fear. And it's move with fear. And it's like it's going through the different men, because afterwards it's going to go into patriarch Abraham. And what's these men? What's you know, there wasn't a point where they fell off. It wasn't a point where they you know, turned their back on the truth or took a break. They were basically in it onto the end, man. It was a lifetime commitment, and that's as well. What does it say? Move with fear, prepared an ark, because that's with what Noah was dealing with as well. In the midst of all the people around, this is going to be a complete mystery, man. It's going to be completely confounding to them. And that's the same with now. It's like, you know, 5, 7, 8 years ago, we're talking about World War III. People will be like, nah. But now it's like, even
really
20, yeah.
Because the Ukraine war has been going on since 2014.
Yeah,
like, this is something that's been happening.
Because it kicked off then it's like you had the situation really since Trump.
With Crimea as well, like the annexed Crimea.
Yeah.
Like there's been the World War, like.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, thinking with like in the Middle East with Iran nuclear program from when Trump came in, that was like and then taking out the general, all these things in 2020. Then it's just like it's done been there. Now it's where it's undeniable, and that's how hilarious it is, because it's the words basically it's living and breathing, and now it's becoming undeniable. But that's why it's once the arcs once the doors closed, it's a wrap.
Yeah, let me read a couple of precepts quickly. Job 8:8. But inquire, pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Yeah, that's the as far as for people out here, they ain't inquiring of the former age. They ain't doing any form of research. That's why it's like people are the Ukraine-Russia situation. I ain't even done the full amount of research to go into like the history of how you know what the build-up's been to this current situation. But it's like people aren't even doing any research. They're just running with whatever just like they're seeing in the media. And all you're seeing in the media is just spectacular propaganda, man. Man had Vitaly Klitschko. This guy's a boxer. Talking about, we killed 6 of them. Yesterday we killed about 6 guys. I'm like, bro, this guy's a mayor of Kiev. I'm like, bro, this is just pure propaganda. Man, they got Sky News up in there, just doing direct news interviews. I'm like, bro, this is just whatever the fuck is going on. You ain't gonna find out straight away. All you're gonna have recorded is a bunch of like both sides is gonna be recorded hella propaganda, man.
I've got a couple more. Sirach 2:9. Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good unto everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
Yeah. And that's why it's like, the Lord basically had those men, which were, of a certain portion of spirits, that they were always there, and it was always that essentially that Israel the Most High. whether and they weren't being called by them names. It might have been the sons of the Most High or the sons of the power. But then what? It's the Lord always had His men there He was dealing with, and that's the Most High never just turned on him. With Israel, the promises were made. It was like there was a portion where the Lord basically turned His face away, turned His back basically to Jake. But then even then, it wasn't like the promises have been forgotten. It was then like, okay, something's gonna. Hey, Yahweh Shai is basically gonna come and do what He has to do to fulfill that.
Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures that we might have hope. I've got another one. It's the book of Proverbs, the first chapter, and I'm going to start from I'll just get straight to the point. Proverbs 1 and 7. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So Hebrews 11:7. By faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High, of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
Yeah. Rewarded with staying alive, basically, and then what? Basically, bringing a new Adam, a second Adam. Go on.
By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whether he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise.
Yeah, and that's just move from where his line had come from to just be like, okay, move in and among a bunch of funky heathens. But then what with faith? Going there and just being like, yeah, all this is what you're gonna get. And hey, it was fulfilled. Yeah.
Verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacle. Verse 10, sorry. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High.
Yeah. Because that's why it mentioned Isaac and Jacob. Because that's where the promises went down, just Isaac and Jacob. And then what? It's basically having faith that the Most High is gonna do what He's gonna do, man. That's key to what the the heathen are missing, man, and what really is the 2/3 as well, because it's only gonna be of the elect. Because you have people that are still now trying to build something within this place. They've got hopes in what Esau's doing, which if that's what you're clinging onto, that's what your hopes into, then what need is there for the kingdom?
And that's why it said, like, look for a city which have foundations, who the builder and maker is the Most High. And the reason why it wasn't found, you had basically the pillars, the main foundation there in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but it actually being established in its entirety, it wasn't there because it was gonna come off the process of time. Because what did it say? People in the book of Maccabees, it tells you that the Most High named the place for the people's sake. Basically, a place is named after the people. So, what did Yahweh Shai say? He said, "The kingdom of heaven cometh not by observation, lo here, lo there, but the kingdom of heaven is within you." So, only what Abraham was looking for and sojourning for was the elect being sealed for salvation and New Jerusalem coming down from the heavens. And that wasn't something that was happening back then, right? But by faith, he still endured, even throughout his whole life. He didn't say, "Oh, it's not coming yet." So you know what? Let me just run around with the Canaanites because they've got the power right now, and just, or the Egyptians, and just basically do as they please. No, he said like I'm waiting for it, but even though he looked at it like, oh, it's gonna go into it. So let me not say no more. Verse 11. Though faith through faith Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised.
Well, go.
Yeah, therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky is multitude, and as the sand which is the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, all right. But it said about Sarah, because she judged him faithful who had promised, and that was basically the angel. So she believed, even though she laughed when she denied it. She believed the word that was said unto her. Verse 13, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
Yeah, so they saw it afar off, and that links up with first chapter, man. Evidence of things not seen. It's basically they knew like, yo, this has been promised, so it's gonna be delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for now. We know what's been promised, and it's being manifest before our eyes. Because you've got people that are thinking, and this is how Esau's got everyone's mindset. Like, oh, if Esau goes out of power, then we're just gonna become shit-eating, monkeys, and just not and completely lose any form of governance or or order. But that's complete BS. This is the the place without any form of governance or order. This is just chaotic madness that's been wickedness. The left hand side just being let loose, and that's why people enjoy being able to do whatever the fuck they want to do, man. But that's gonna come to an end.
Verse 14, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country that is in heavenly, wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power, for he hath prepared for them a city.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I was gonna say, if they were mindful of their old where they left before, like I was mentioning before, as an example, you could say, oh, okay, the Lord promised, oh, this is nice, but you know what? I'm going back to the Chaldees. I'm gonna chill there for a bit, and I'll come and collect that a little later. Nah, they looked at it like, we've left. This is where it is. So wherever we're pilgrims upon the earth. So let's sojourn and let's see what the Lord may even be, testing me, and it may even come in this moment. It speaks about hastening unto the coming unto the kingdom, right? That's what they're doing. So like you were gonna say something as well.
No, it's cool.
Verse 15, but now they desire a better country that is in heavenly. Wherefore the Most High, where the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power, for he had prepared for them a city. By faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he had received the promises, offered up his own only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounted that the Most High was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure.
Yeah, and it's funny considering that Isaac is Yahweh Shai, and then what happened to Yahweh Shai, basically being raised from the dead. So that's why it's and what was it I was gonna say? Oh well, it says and even considering it was like Isaac was. It was only Isaac that was meant to receive the promises. But then what? Abraham would have still sacrificed Isaac. That's, you know, a level of faith and also a shadow of things to come. But and that's something that with in the modern day that you ain't gonna find that. Like that those that amount of faith, that's few and far between, man. It's like now, funny enough, people have faith that Esau can raise people from the dead. You know, someone would choke out and die. They'll be thinking, oh, can you just get into the hospital and then, you know, and fucking be able to do some shit. That's, you know, someone gets cancer, this 6-year-old gets cancer, they'll be like, okay, look, you know, we're gonna take him to Esau. Esau's gonna make everything okay. That's where, you know, the faith, people's faith lies now.
Yeah, and you know, it says that was a point that was there. Let me quickly speak on it, and then I've got another point as well. In the book of Hebrews, that it basically said about yeah, he basically believed that, you know, because the Lord had promised that, look, I'm gonna raise like this blessing. I don't know if you mentioned it because I was looking at something, but he said, look, the children of Israel, the people, the children of promise that are gonna flourish in this land are gonna come from your son. So he basically looked at it like, man, the Lord, I'm gonna kill him. He's just gonna raise him straight up because he said by his word that's what he's gonna do. So that's it, man. That's a great level of like confidence in the Heavenly Father, which is faith. For you to just say, all right, cool, I'm gonna kill my son, and the Lord's gonna raise him back up, and he's gonna accomplish the words that he said, or however the Lord's gonna deal with it. All right. I've got a quick point to make because this even goes into because you mentioned about Isaac being Yahweh Shai. So I just wanted to bring up this point because I found it out a while ago. I was meant to do a video on it, but since we got it, I've got the opportunity to do it. Genesis 22:2, and he said, take now thy son, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Alright, so let's look up the land of Moriah. Let's see what the word there is for the Hebrew. So the Hebrew word there is Mawariah, alright? Which the word there for okay, to see, Ra'ah. Okay, so it says, Mawariah, it says, chosen of the Most High, or to see the Most High. Wow, that's even deep in itself. Alright, so it says to see, perceive, have vision, to look, see, gaze. So I just want to read this. So it says, A, the place where Abraham took Isaac for sacrifice. B, the mount on the eastern edge of Jerusalem on which Solomon built the temple. So I showed you the same place where Isaac was going to be sacrificed was the same place where Solomon wound up building the temple, which serves as like a duality in it all. Because what did the Lord say? The Lord said, I'm giving a video in a video, but the Lord said, just to this point, I might as well, since the Spirit got me speaking on it, because it will bring it all home, man. I don't know how to navigate on Android with that app, man.
It's been taken by iOS.
Yeah, I'm held captive, man. Alright, so it says, this is John 2:19. Yahushua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in the building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. So you see how that scripture coincides, Genesis 22 and 2, the fact that it's the same place where Isaac was going to be offered up, and also the place where Solomon built the temple, because that's the two former lifetimes of Yahushua of key importance, where met come to a head collision in Yahushua's lifetime. The fact that he actually was sacrificed, and that temple that Solomon built, he was the actual temple. So it is mind blowing, man. You know, I mean that's a little sad point, but I just wanted to bring it out, man. All right, it's the book of Hebrews 11 and 20. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both. And see, Esau had faith then, didn't he? Bless me one blessing, please, Father. He had some faith then, you know. But that was through the Spirit. Why? Because he had to receive his blessing, you know. Verse 21. By faith, Jacob, when he and if it even befits what blessing he got blessed with, being a sword, being a carnal blessing. He wasn't blessed with like, okay, he had the kingdom was in his possession. He said, no, I don't want that. But what he saw, the power he had in his father, whatever it was during the Spirit through the time, allowed him to really believe like Isaac could bless him in some form or way, and obviously it was in tune with carnality. That's why he took the blessing of the sword and held it, you know, firmly. So verse 20, it says, by faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph, and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel, and gave commandment concerning his bones. Damn, that's deep, man. So he prophesied, man. Joseph prophesied that, you know, they were going to leave the Egypt. He said, when they do, take my bones. Right? Why would he ask for his bones to be taken? At least he didn't have faith in the prophecy of seeing Israel leaving. All right? Verse 23, by faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child. And they, a proper child. And they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith.
They essentially what? when it went against the, you know, the grain, so to speak, of the society. That's the same thing that's gonna go down like now in the modern day, because as far as it's all through the Spirit, because it's not right now is not a time to just kind of fold over to whatever Esau's doing, because there's scriptures, there's prophecies where you cross a certain line, then it's you've imperiled you've sealed your fate. You've imperiled your soul. You're done out basically, and that's same thing as back then, where with Moses, he was what? It was through faith. He was kept safe and gone. There's a bit more.
Yeah, verse 24. By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Yeah, and that's a message that it's funny because when you have Shabbos on the scene, that's what the wicked scribes and Pharisees, they were getting down with that as well. They were basically consorting with Rome to get a certain level of lifestyle, man. They were able to be in those prominent positions. They were able to basically live in comfort. They had them broad phylacteries. They were living life. And now in the modern time now as well, you got guys that are sold out, guys that are basically teaching nonsense, mixing up the doctrine, because they're basically what they're trying to get their little cut, their slice of the times. But then what? Moses is a shining example. He was in Pharaoh's house. That's like now if you're to be raised in like in fucking Windsor Castle or in one of the Rothschild manors, then and then just be there and have the capability to to use all those means to basically enjoy yourself, and then just be like, no, I'm just gonna completely disconnect from that. And that's something that a lot of men don't have the the minerals to follow through on that.
Let me read this as a precept. Acts 7:19. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, is speaking about the new Pharaoh, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast their young children to the end that they might not live. In which time Moses was born and was exceeding fair and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds, like he was saying. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that the Most High by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not.
Yeah, and that's the magnitude of difference in faith. Because you're just like, yo, this is something happening through the spirit. And then walloped the guy got me hammered over the head and took it out.
Me hammered.
And then got that Wile Coyote dynamite TNT.
Yeah.
Took it out through the spirit.
Bugs Bunny, Rise.
That what's his name?
Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Fudd. That double barreled up. He got wiped out, man.
A bit.
He got wiped. That's hey, through the spirit, and that's something like I was like, you'd have lost it, but there's what it was through faith, and that shows.
He was the best person to do it as well.
Yeah, that shows a portion of how much faith. What do you call it? That Moses had, because I remember the Prince of Egypt movie. They make it where it's like
he was enjoying all the dainties of
Egypt. And then it's just like it was so just so disconnected. It was just so overwhelming to just be like, no, my people, and just killed the guy by accident. It was like, no, this guy got schemed on. Man got taken out. Man had the solid snake headlock, and then it was done out. And then but that's the thing. It's like it's the same with what's going to happen when it says like what we're going to go before kings and rulers, and it says what, think not what you'll say, because I'll put words in your mouth. In these situations, that's why it's like in a situation of a famine or any form of hardship, or it's like where you might lose your job, you might have people find out what you're doing, and then you just get completely screwed, you might get kicked out. You gotta have faith that the Lord's basically gonna make something happen.
What if we're saying that, man? Because everyone's got different lots, man. Not everyone's gonna endure the same level of not everyone has the same level of faith, so not everyone's faith is gonna be exercised in the same manner. But I recently did a video on this, and I meditated on it, and it was a good point. Basically, Elijah, when he was in the wilderness, he was fed by the raven. He brought him, bread and flesh 2 times a day, and had the brook until it passed out. You imagine what Elijah was going through, man. He waited for the Lord to give him a sign or tell him what to do, and even when the Lord did tell him what to do, right, or when he saw the water waning and a crow didn't come, imagine what that day would have been like, alright? Then he just had to cast all these burdens upon the Lord and wait for the word of the Lord to tell him what to do. Then even when he went to the woman's place, he asked for water. So that shows you he was thirsty. He took his journey, he went there, because he went all the way to Sidon. Alright, and I believe city was Gilead, but he was somewhere else, hidden. But so anyway, he's gone there. Then even when he's there, he's asked the woman, "Look, give me some water." She went to give him water. Then he asked, "Give me some food, like some bread. Make me a morsel of bread." And she said, "Look, I have none." Da, da, da. And he told her, "Make me some and make yourself some." So the point is, he wasn't getting the same level of. He didn't have a brook to feed him. He didn't have the flesh. He didn't have the bread as well. He just had the little, the cruise of oil and the flour with some water, basically, and it didn't go away. But it's just showing you that the one thing that was missing was the flesh. If my reading and understanding serves me correct, so it shows you that hey, when you get tried, when you get tried, you go through. You know, different things are gonna happen, but you gotta roll with the punches, man. The Heavenly Father's gonna exercise you, man, and that's just a showing of faith. You know, which this chapter's about. So I'll read on. Um, so, what verse was on? In verse 26. Esteeming the reproach of Mashiach greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, least he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians are saying to do were drowned.
Yeah. These, trials. Basically moments where, until the intervention of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, it was looking like, it was a wrap. And that's something that someone who has no faith, and your average Negro, man, where they don't actually believe in this truth. They might have heard something might have vibe with it. They might know that even though they're Israelite. But it's what, without that faith, when it comes to what? The time of tribulation. That time to be tested. When, that whatever metal you're made of, you get put in the furnace, that furnace of affliction, and then it shines through. There's people where they'll just dross. They're just going to disintegrate. But then what? These are, these examples of the men that were of that fine gold.
Yeah, and it even says, by faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians are saying to do were drowned. And that makes me think about Yahushai when the disciples were in the midst of the sea, when it was rough. I forget what city. I believe it may be in Galilee. I can't remember. But basically, they saw Yahushai. They saw a figure walking on the water, and they saw Yahushai. Then Peter said, "Oh, Lord, can I come onto the?" He said, "Come." Then he was cheerful that he was walking, on the water, but then he doubt, yeah. He lacked faith, and then the Lord said to him, "Why lack faith?" And that's the main point. Not that they had. The point is they didn't not only lack faith, they had no faith, and that was really why the Egyptians were drowned, because it's not for them. All right, the actual fact that, and even when you check out the word, it's kind of poetic in the sense. It says, by faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land. That's kind of like walking on water, but obviously they didn't walk on water. They passed through the Red Sea as on, double entendre type of, being a bit. That's not what happened, but they walked through the Red Sea, but as the land of it. But the point being is that yeah, man, that's all done by faith, and the Egyptians is not their lot, because it's a gift that's given unto you, the Heavenly Father's elect of the nation of Israel. Verse 30, by faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab, and that's even deep. The Lord told you to walk around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Do you know what can happen walking around the walls of a city? You know what kind of defenses they have? Arrows can be shot at you, boulders can be rolled down, oil, heat, like fire, all type of manner of things can be done. But they did it in faith. They just went there with the trumpets, the Levites at the front, blowing the horns. They went around 7 times, and then the walls just fell down. That's deep, man. Verse 31: By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believe not. And just for Jericho, what happened with which of the judges, the one that slew all these brothers, and then basically I believe
Oh no,
because he got killed,
the
he got
name.
a rock thrown on his head, and he said, "Slay me now, take my." He told his shield bearer, "Slay me now, so it'll not be said that I'll be killed by a woman."
Yeah, the pot dropped on his
Yeah.
head.
So it's just like that shows you being around the walls of a city. That's the type of thing that can happen, man. But guess what? The Lord didn't let that happen. It went according to His word. Verse 41: By faith the harlot Rahab perished, not with them that believe not, when she had received the spies with peace. And when shall I say more? And even Rahab, she wound up. If you look into the history, she wound up marrying the prince of Judah, Nashon, which basically wound up making her mentioned in the book of Matthew, the first chapter. That shows you how great of a faithful act she had, man. Alright? And that's part of the Lord putting the spirit upon the different heathens to basically doing great works, man. Which should make anyone that's not in his faith kind of ashamed, but it's through the spirit, man. Verse 32. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak. And I've said, man, these are my stories, man. Book of Judges. And tell Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also and Samuel and of the prophets. And through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again. Elijah, alright? And others were tortured, and even Yahushua ultimately. And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. The mother and her 7 sons, the elder, alright, over the nation of Israel. I believe his name is Eli. I can't remember his name verbatim, actually, Salakia. Verse 36, and others had trial of cruel mockings and scourging, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. Alright? Jeremiah, Ezekiel. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder. They were tempted, were slain with the sword, they wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented. John the Baptist, man, right? Only, passed on through the commandment of a wicked, bloody, evil demon, nigger woman, man. He had his head put in a charger. Verse 38, of whom the world was not worthy. The world was not worthy. And these are things to remember, alright? The world ain't worthy of us, man. No matter what you're going through, the world ain't worthy of you. That hoe don't want to fuck with you. She ain't worthy. But more to the point of what we have is we have the word, sorry. And in having the word created the world we live in. Alright, we read it at the beginning of the chapter. The invisible made the visible world, man. Alright? So the word that we are utilizing as our tool, alright, our main weapon of warfare to cut things asunder, to separate, a man's soul from his body and make him wince and corral in pain, alright? That's what established this world that we live upon. That's the power that we're wielding, alright? What in this earth is what tangible thing in this earth can you give in exchange for this word, man? And obviously it's been given with measure, in accordance, but still, you have a form of that word, alright, in measure that pertains to something of great brilliance, or that was something like that, man. Alright? Basically, it's like having, even if you want to say it's like a portion, you could say like your portion was to make clouds. But nigga, who can make on the earth? Who can make fucking clouds, man? No one. So whatever portion you have it's a phenomenal amount of strength you're building, man. So that's you gotta utilize it. So verse 38, of whom the world was not worthy, they wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these
it was basically, not accepted, rejected by the wider, the general populace, man. And that's really the thing with the word, man. This is something that, faith, the things that you're capable of doing is what, and the basically the destiny, the results that are tied to the kind of life you got to live. Because, like it said, it was hella prophets were put to death. There was all kinds of madness they had to go through. It's like I said, being completely ostracized from society. These are the things that basically are burdens that are born. Why? Because you're given the, something that stands over all that's on this side. And even from, back in the ancient world till now, the general world is not in alignment with the truth of the word. As far as like righteous rulerships, those very small times. And then even then, it's like, even among Jake is meant to be that perfect, it's meant to be the perfect representation of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua on the earth. They've fallen short time and again. In the modern day, is a perfect example. A so-called black is one of the most despised creatures on the planet Earth. Yet, what's his name? The guy who directed Creed and I was saying before we went live, like the guy who directed Creed and Black Panther, Ryan Coogler. This guy was taking money out of his own bank account. And the guy got fucking pulled up by the cops, man. I was sitting there in the fucking back of the car, having to explain that I'm trying to withdraw money from my own bank account. Like, what the fuck's going on? That's hell on earth, man. And that's, look, if you're one in this truth, you got this faith, then even more so, it's magnified. And that's how it's always been. So, went through what Abraham, Noah, Enoch, all the judges, time and again, same thing. And this is that last run, man. It's that last leg of the race, that final time where it's going to be shown what the prophet's going to be doing. And that's the thing is even the brother said from Enoch, the same word was getting preached. Now is the time where you have the full understanding. Because when we go into Revelation, we go into these prophecies, we'll be able to tell, the chariots of the Heavenly Father, the ICBM missiles, or Russia, America, NATO, EU, the Vatican, whatever lines up with whatever lines up in the prophecies, that can be broken down. They can get the full understanding. The Spirit's working with you. That's something that in prior times wasn't there. Those things Daniel received. Was like he was sick on his bed afterwards, man. His head was done out.
It's the same thing, man.
Just done. Having it broken down, like easily understandable.
Daniel's the best example, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's like now is even more so. And then that means what? The tribulations and trials even more so. Esau's coming with what? That charagma. That's gonna be on a scale where it's like, yo, you mess with that, it's you're done, though. You're done out.
Let me read this precept. 2nd Ezra 16 and 40. Oh my people, hear my word. Make you ready to that battle. Alright, and we know what kind of battle this is. A spiritual battle. Alright, and the book of Ephesians 6th chapter tells you what the weapons of our warfare are. And that's why I said, man, the power that we wield is the word of the Heavenly Father, man. Alright? This is Lord said, I am He. I am. When they came to come upon him, and he turned around and said, like, I can't remember his words verbatim, but what he said unto them made them leap back. That's the power we have, man. This word, you have to have faith that. It's funny because presently I'm doing something with the plantation. You know, I don't really want to go into too much details. There's an individual I was talking to, and he basically said this point. He said, look, you have to tell these people, like, it's not right what they're doing, all right? But he said, look, I'll say it, and I'll say it no matter what, because I know when they go home and sit down and think about it, they'll be like, he has a point, man, he's right. But they ain't gonna say it to me, but they just know I'm right. And I can't lie, that's the same way I am. So when he said it, it just resonated. I'm like, yeah, man, I'll say something just because I know. I don't care if you get a reaction in that moment. I just know my voice is gonna bounce around in your head when you least expect it, and you're gonna be fucked up in the spirit, man. That's the word. The word is something. It's different. What it does to people, like, is a power that is just beyond a punch in the face, a gunshot to the head. It's beyond that, man. This is separating, souls, man, from their vehicle in this third dimension, right? So it says, "O my people," Second Ezra 16:40. "O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon earth. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. He that occupieth merchandise as one that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he shall not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And therefore they that labor in vain." Vanity and vanities, man. Right? So this is the book of Hebrews 11, and we're at
39.
verse 39, which reads, and these all having obtained a good report through faith, receive not the promise, the Most High having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
Yeah. Receive that good report. Like I said earlier, it's when all they went through, there was a point where they fell off, or they, went into some form of madness. Like what they endured until the end. And that's, these are recorded, man, as a way to boost the faith of those that come, as lessons of conduct of how to move, how you're meant to move. But hey, that's why it's faith is that key ingredient, man.
Without it's impossible to please him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you close.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Say all praises to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushua, B'Hashem Baruch Hakadosh, the one of the apostles that holds great most honorable well. Shalom.
Shalom, man.